Yeah, I was watching the chat, and somebody in the chat, I don't know who it was, mentioned Nia's hole in response to the hole that Green Man is constantly trying to not fall into. And now I don't think I will ever look at that hole the same way again. Now I'm just going to look at that and think, well, he's falling into Nia's hole. So whoever said that, fuck you. Anyway, this is your Monday Night Raw review. It is September 18, 2023. I am the Solomonster. I believe there are two Monday Night Football. Aren't there two football games tonight? I thought there were two. And it is Monday Night Football season. So WWE has a lot of competition on Monday nights. Tonight's show was really built around Jey Uso. Jey Uso was traded to Raw only a few weeks ago from SmackDown, and he is just pissing everybody off. Nobody likes Jey Uso. Cody Rhodes does. I shouldn't say nobody. Cody Rhodes does. Sami Zayn does. But pretty much everybody else just doesn't like this guy. Especially Kevin Owens. And so we had multiple stories really going on around Jey Uso tonight, including the story of the Judgment Day trying to recruit him, as they've been trying to do over these last few weeks. They thought they had him. They were trying to bring him into the family. And by the end of the night, we got our answer as to whether or not Jey Uso would, in fact, join the Judgment Day. Spoiler, he did not. Well, I don't know too many people who actually thought that he would. But we had that going on. We had the stuff with Kevin Owens, who doesn't trust Jey Uso. He made that very clear tonight. And he was in the main event. It was Jey Uso against Drew McIntyre to close out the show. So if you have Jey Uso fatigue, maybe this was not the show for you. But I thought the storytelling was good. The way they kind of built that throughout the entire show. I mean, this is episodic television here. So you want to have some sort of thread that brings all of these stories together. And I thought tonight they did a good job with that on the Jey Uso front. There was something else that happened on the show tonight, though, that I really was not expecting. And I was pleasantly surprised, and that was a match that wasn't even originally supposed to happen. We were supposed to get a 2 out of 3 falls tag team match tonight between the New Day and the Viking Raiders. Eric was not medically cleared, so he was not on the show. So instead, we ended up getting a singles match between Kofi Kingston and Ivar. So I saw that earlier, and I said, all right, whatever. Kofi Kingston against Ivar. It's a match, I guess. Turned out to be the best match of the entire night. Those two guys went out there and had a great fucking match. That I was not expecting. That was the sleeper hit of the entire show. We also had Becky Lynch's first defense of the NXT Women's Championship that she won just last Tuesday. Her first title defense came on Monday Night Raw. And we had Chad Gable trying to get himself another Intercontinental Championship match with Gunther. He went to Adam Pearce. He's going to have to fight his way back from the very bottom. He's going to have to work his way all the way back up to the top if he wants a shot at the Intercontinental title, because it looks like he is not going to be getting a title match anytime soon, especially because he came out a loser tonight here in his match on Raw. So there were a few things that happened on this show tonight that I thought were newsworthy, but the first, I would say, hour or so of this show, I actually thought was humming along pretty well. And it kept my interest, and I thought it was pretty good. And then after that, I won't say it's bad. It just was not as interesting as the first hour of the show. And so they were moving along, all the stories that they had to move along. We got a little tease of something at the end of the show that I'll get into involving Drew McIntyre that I think is going to blow up into a much bigger thing in the next few weeks involving Cody. So, yeah, they pushed those stories along. I didn't feel like there was a lot of filler on the show tonight, but that last, I'd say, 90 minutes plus, I didn't think was as interesting as the opening hour of the show. So overall, I would say it was a solid show. One person who was missing from the show tonight, who was originally, supposedly, he wasn't advertised, but the reports were that he was supposed to be back tonight, and he was not, was Matt Riddle. And we all know the mess that he was involved in last week. Matt Riddle was not on the show last week, supposedly because he was ill, and he was supposed to be back tonight, and he was not. There was no mention of him, and no nothing, so there was no Matt Riddle on the show. Of course, Nia Jax was on the show as well. You'll notice I didn't mention her, but yes, Nia Jax is back. She came back on the show last week. You saw that smiling face at the very end of the last Vince McMahon-owned Monday Night Raw, and she was on the show tonight as well. And we had our first Nia Jax injury report of her new run, of her latest run here in WWE. Now, it may be kayfabe, but nonetheless, it is kind of funny that we have a list of victims already of one Nia Jax. Anyway, again, thank you guys for kicking off your week with yours truly here on the channel. This is a big day here on YouTube, and it's a big day because, and I'm very happy about this, and I want to thank each and every one of you who made this possible, because right before Raw went on the air tonight, we officially broke 75,000 subscribers here on the YouTube channel. And we've been inching closer over the last several days. I wasn't sure if it was going to happen tonight or not, but it did officially happen earlier. So 75K is very cool. I want to thank all of you for making that possible. That put a smile on my face, and I guess now we go onward, right? I guess 80K would be the next goal here on the channel. We got a ways to go before we even sniff 100. But thank you for the 75,000, man. That is very, very cool. And that's the way I like to start things off here when it comes to these streams. I like to start with some good news. That was great news. So thank you very much. 400 likes is the goal here on this video. If you hit that thumbs up button, 400 likes is the goal to do Be the Booker a little bit later on. It's always good to start the week with Be the Booker, right? Come on, you guys want to be the Booker. So we'll do that later if we hit 400 likes. And Super Chats are open, including the brand new Nia Jax $15 one. You guys already know that. So with all that out of the way, let's talk about this Raw show. And by the way, I'll have a little video to play a little bit later on, unrelated to all of this. Some mayhem that went down this past Friday night. We'll get into that later. But Raw opened with Cody Rhodes, who came to the ring and he cut a scathing promo on The Rock after those comments that The Rock made on Pat McAfee's show last week. No, he didn't do that. I kind of wish he did. But he did say, now that would have gotten your attention. Hey, that would have had my attention too. That would have been a hell of a way to open Raw tonight. Cody Rhodes comes out and he cuts a work shoot on The Rock. But he said he was interrupted last week when he really wanted to talk about Jey Uso. I don't remember who cut him off, but he was interrupted before he could actually say whatever it was that he was going to say. And the same thing happened here tonight. He mentioned Jey Uso. He said he wanted to talk about Jey Uso, and he was quickly interrupted. And he was interrupted this time by Dominik Mysterio, the NXT North American champion, who came out with his championship all by himself. No Rhea Ripley. He said Rhea was not there tonight because she was injured. She was injured by Nia Jax. And we were told that she was injured. She suffered bruised ribs, we were later told. I'm not even going to say it. It's too easy. Too easy. It may be kayfabe, a kayfabe injury, but it would be a layup for me to take a shot
It's
at that.
the amazing
Gunther.
Jerry Lawler loves Gunther, the
Oh
magnificent.
boy.
All hail Gunther.
Bombs away early here tonight from Metal Rules with a $50 Gunther bomb. Says it's good to see full stadiums on Raw and SmackDown. Well, you mean arenas. They're not running stadiums for Raw and Smack. But what do you think this is? The Attitude Era when they took Raw to the Sky Dome? Congrats on the 75,000 subs. Thank you very much. Metal Rules, very kind of you. Chiming in with a $50 Gunther bomb early on. So yes, as I mentioned before, Nia Jax is back 1 week, and already here in storyline, she already has a victims list. Rhea Ripley out with bruised ribs. Raquel Rodriguez out with an injury as well. Dominik said that he was dedicating his victory in his match tonight to Mommy. Cody said that he was getting a Steve Urkel and Laura Winslow vibe from Dom and Rhea because he was much more into her than she was into him. And then he admitted that that reference was probably a little bit before Dom's time. Yeah, he was dating himself with that reference. Although I will say Family Matters, fantastic show. You're looking for a good 90s sitcom to watch, you can go back on a good wholesome 90s family sitcom. Family Matters is the show that it got a little ridiculous there towards the end when they had the fucking time machine and you had, you know, Stefan and you had Steve Urkel, and it got a little ridiculous, but I always liked that show. Dominik said that it's not like that. He said we're a family. And once Jey Uso joins, he'll know what it's like to have a family. Finn Balor and Damian Priest, they entered, they walked down to the ring, and they stayed there for the opening match, which was Cody Rhodes one-on-one with Dominik Mysterio. This was a rematch from Money in the Bank. If you recall, back in July, Cody and Dom went one-on-one. Cody won that match. Tonight was no different. They also showed Dragon Lee from NXT. He was standing there in the front row, and he is going to be challenging Dominik on Raw next Monday. Dragon Lee will be making his in-ring Raw debut, wrestling for the NXT North American Championship. Hey, if we look at all the Ring of Honor title matches that we get on AEW television. If we can get Ring of Honor title matches on AEW television, and we have NXT being invaded by main roster talent every week, then I guess we can get an NXT championship match or two here on this show. Although we had one tonight. We had a women's title match tonight. Now we're going to get a North American title match next week. Everyone's just moving around. Titles are being defended everywhere. It doesn't matter what show you're on. That, and also keep in mind that Raw, it is going to need all the attractions that it can get here against Monday Night Football. They're probably going to get slaughtered. It's just the way it is. And now I see that all of the Monday Night Football games, apparently, because of this ongoing strike in Hollywood, they're shifting all of the Monday Night Football games to broadcast television. So instead of being on ESPN, they will air on ABC, which is going to eat into Raw's numbers a little bit more. So, you know, any attraction, I guess, that they can do, they're going to throw it on the show. So Cody ended up on the apron during the match. He hit Dominik with a forearm. Dominik grabbed the referee. He held him while Balor pulled Cody off the apron. Back inside, Dom took advantage of the interference. Cody came back, though, with a Cody cutter, and then he hit Crossroads, and he picked up the 3 count. This didn't go very long. This actually went 2 minutes. Here on this 3-hour show, there were actually quite a few matches on this show that did not go more than a few minutes. Not a lot of long matches here tonight. After it was over, Balor and Priest climbed up onto the apron. They were about to get into the ring when Kevin Owens' music hit. Owens and Sami Zayn, they made a beeline down to their... Why is it... By the way, let me ask a question about this. Funny I mentioned that word. Somebody asked me this question the other day, and I didn't have an answer for that. Why is it called beeline? Like, where did the term come from? He made a beeline for him. I need to someone look up the origins of this, because I honestly don't know why that's a phrase that's used or where it originated from. But that's what Owens and Zayn did here. They made a beeline for the ring. Judgment Day opted to exit through the crowd. I was about to go off when I saw this. We were only minutes into the show, and we had a stare down. We had a face-off here between the Judgment Day, Kevin Owens, and Sami Zayn. I was about to lose my fucking mind. Because we had Cody, we had KO, and we had Sami, and then we had Balor, Priest, and Dominik. And I said, I swear to God, if we get the Judgment Day against Cody, Balor, or Cody, Owens, and Zayn in the main event, I'm turning this show off. Thankfully, we did not get that in the main event. Although next week, we are getting a Tag Team Championship rematch, where it's going to be Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn against Finn Balor and Damian Priest. So we are, in fact, getting that match again. I can't be too angry about that, though, because the match they had at Payback was fantastic. That street fight, what was it? The Steel City street fight that they had was actually an excellent match. But I swear to you, if we were getting that 6-man tonight, you would not be getting a Raw review right now. I'd be doing a Monday Night Football review, which would be hilarious because I'm not exactly the biggest football fan. But I would be doing a Monday Night Football review here on this channel. But thankfully, we did not get that main event tonight. So Cody's music played. He started to leave. And Kevin Owens called for the music to be turned off. And he asked Cody to come back to the ring because they had something to talk about as they cut to a commercial break. So I thought that was a smart little hook into the next segment. When they came back, Owens was just chilling. He was sitting on the top rope waiting for them to come back from commercial. And Cody and Sami were both standing in the ring. And Owens wanted to understand something from Cody Rhodes. There's something he needed Cody to explain. He said, Jey Uso is back on Raw because of you, right? And Cody confirmed that this is true. And Owens wondered why Cody thought it was a good idea to bring Jey into their locker room. And he wanted to know, and he said, so do a lot of guys in the back. They want to know too. Cody said that he's had a lot of duties in the past. And his job ultimately was to make the people happy. And he asked the crowd if they liked Jey, and they cheered. Cody has had many second chances himself, and he said Jey deserved a second chance as well. Jey deserved a chance to show that he is a changed man. And Cody said the Bloodline was also down a member, and he asked Owens, what's so bad about that? The Bloodline is less one member. What's the problem here? Sami Zayn chimed in. He said, look, it's always taken Owens a long time to gain people's trust. He acknowledged that he may be a little too forgiving himself, but he thought Owens should give Jey a second chance. Sami said that Owens gave him a second chance, and they ended up winning the tag team titles in the main event of WrestleMania this year. So Owens says, okay, I see where this is going. He hops down from the turnbuckle. He says, I can see where this is going. He said, look, I can pretend that Jey, and he's looking at Sami. He goes, I can pretend that Jey didn't cost you the Undisputed Championship in Montreal at Elimination Chamber earlier this year against Roman Reigns. I could even pretend that Jey didn't have a hand in costing you, Cody, the championship at WrestleMania this year against Roman Reigns. And really, it was Solo, but whatever. The Bloodline fucked over Cody Rhodes, right? So he can just pretend that none of that actually happened, right? He can forget about all of that. And he'll even pretend that Jey is not one shade of eyeliner away from joining the Judgment Day. He says he can't trust Jey, but he does trust Cody and Sami, and so I hope you're right. And he walked away. So that apparently is what Cody has been wanting to talk about these last few weeks, each time that he has been interrupted. He mentions Jey Uso's name, he gets cut off. It seemed like he was ready to let everybody know that in exchange, he would be going to SmackDown. That's where I thought it was going. Maybe it still is going that way, but it looks like that, I guess he said his piece tonight here about Jey and asked the fans, I'm a man of the people. My job is to make people happy. That's his job. No, your job is to beat people and win championships. That's your job. But he says, my job is to make people happy, and so that's why Jey Uso is now, look, he did tell us at the beginning of all this, when we found out about the trade at Payback, he mentioned that he cashed in his political chips. And again, we still really haven't had an explanation about why Cody is the one who was able to bring this person over from one show to the other. So they still owe us more of a legitimate explanation about what's going on here. This really wasn't much of one. But they're really dragging this out because we still don't know who the trade compensation pick is. Now, when it first happened, I said they don't have to tell us right away because I still think it's Cody who's going over to Friday night. But I said at the beginning of all this, they don't have to tell us right away. They can drag this out. There's no deadline on this. We may find out in 2 weeks. We may not find out for a few months. And when they need it, they'll bust it out as some sort of big surprise and go, well, guess what? Remember a few months ago when Jey Uso was traded from SmackDown to Raw? Well, guess who SmackDown got in return? And then boom, you hit that person's music and out they come. So again, we may not find out for a while. And if it is Cody, Cody shouldn't go to SmackDown right now. Cody shouldn't go to SmackDown right now because it seems pretty clear Cody's got a new feud coming up with a certain someone. The right time to get Cody over to SmackDown, honestly, would be early next year. I don't even think he needs to be on the show this year. So if it is him, the longer they drag it out, I think that's perfectly fine. But I like the story they've created here, where Owens doesn't trust Jey because it makes sense. After all the times that Jey Uso and both Usos fucked over Kevin Owens has had multiple championship matches over the years with Roman Reigns. When Jimmy was out with his knee injury and Jey first started getting a singles push and he was the right-hand man, he was the one who was constantly interfering in Owens' matches and costing him the championship. Not to mention all the stuff last year where they were screwing over him and Sami Zayn. Over and over and over again. All the shit that the Bloodline put the two of those guys through. Why would Kevin Owens be the first man to go, yeah, I'll shake your hand. Yeah, I'll welcome you to Monday Night Raw. Just storyline-wise, kayfabe-wise, it doesn't make sense if Owens was the first person to kind of smile and put his arms around the guy. So I like the fact that he is being very cold to Jey. I wouldn't trust the guy either. He has every right not to trust him. They showed a replay from last week when he and Jey were tag team partners and Jey accidentally kicked him in the face and Michael Cole was playing it up. Oh, was that an accident or did he mean to do that? Obviously it was an accident, but they're playing it up like we don't know. Maybe he did it on purpose. So that just feeds into this story. And I like that. Where it's going to go, I don't know. Is it going to end up resulting in Kevin Owens' heel turn in a few months and a split between Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn? It's possible. But I think it's good television to keep people guessing as to where this is going to go. Now, they replayed the return last week of Nia Jax. Oh, joy. The return that absolutely nobody asked for, except perhaps one person. Because I made the comment on the podcast yesterday. It's kind of funny how we went 4 years without an appearance from The Rock on WWE television. And the very same week that The Rock shows up on SmackDown just so happens to be the same week that Nia Jax, after 2 years, returns to television. Could be a coincidence. Could very well be. But nonetheless, Nia Jax is back. Michael Cole said that Rhea Ripley and Raquel were both day-to-day due to the attacks at the end of Raw last week. And so the injury for Raquel, I mentioned the bruised ribs for Nia. The injury for Raquel was whiplash. So they're day-to-day. Then we got Kofi Kingston against Ivar of the Viking Raiders. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the stream here, this was not originally the match scheduled for this show. This was going to be a tag team match, 2 out of 3 falls, the rubber match between the two teams. Eric is not medically cleared, whatever that means. Maybe he's sick, I don't know. But he wasn't on the show tonight, so this was a late addition to the show. And I was not expecting this to be as good as it was. This honestly surprised the hell out of me here. Ivar had Valhalla in his corner. Ivar splashed Kofi from the apron to the floor, full force, heading into the commercial break. After the break, Kofi avoided a diving splash in the ring. He came back with one of his own for a 2 count. Followed that by a crossbody and an SOS for 2. Ivar ducked the Trouble in Paradise. He hit a double underhook sit-out powerbomb for a very close near fall. Ivar then hit a spinning leg lariat, and Michael Cole sold this huge on commentary. He swore to God that he thought that Ivar knocked this guy's teeth out, and they showed a replay of the kick. And the kick didn't look any more devastating than his usual leg lariat does, but it just goes to show you how good commentary. And Michael Cole, I thought, did a very good job here. Good commentary and that type of enthusiasm can make something seem more devastating than it really is, because he really played this up big. Ivar set up for a move from the middle rope, and he looked outside, and Valhalla was out there, and she starts twirling her finger around like she's fucking Randy Savage. She's twirling her finger around, telling him, he's encouraging him to go up to the top rope. So he agrees. He goes up to the top rope, and he hits a huge moonsault from the top rope, and it connects. And I thought that was the finish. You get a guy as big as Ivar, who's 300 plus pounds, and he's hitting a moonsault off the top rope. That should end the match. But it did not. He only got a close near fall. Kofi kicked out. And Valhalla on the outside, she screamed out in frustration. Ivar then placed Kofi on the top turnbuckle. He set up for something. Kingston fought back. He ended up getting a sunset bomb. And he followed that with the Trouble in Paradise, and he got the pin. This was a really fun match, and it was helped by that crowd, which was hot for it too. They were into this match as well. This turned out to be, I thought, the best match on the entire show. And it's not setting a really high bar because there really weren't that many matches that even went very long on this show. It was a very story-driven show, more so than the action in the ring. It's not like a few weeks ago we had that big television main event they promoted between Gunther and Chad Gable, or there was some big title match they promoted in advance. But even on a show that you would consider to be very good, that had a lot of different matches on it, this one would stand out. So I was really impressed, especially by Ivar. We know how good Kofi can be. Sometimes he doesn't really have a chance to show it. He does the tag team thing a lot. We know how good Kofi can be. Ivar, though, we don't really get a chance very often to see him in singles action. And I feel like years ago, in Ring of Honor, when Eric had the motorcycle wreck and almost died, and he was out for a while, I think Ivar, Hansen, when he was Hansen, got a singles push for a while there in Ring of Honor. And I remember back then being very impressed by him. But I feel like here in WWE, we really don't get to see that very often. So if this was his only shot, Eric could be back next week. He went out there, and I thought he was very impressive. So this was great stuff. And now it gets me interested in seeing the rubber match between these two teams, right? So mission accomplished. Shinsuke Nakamura was out to the ring for a match with Ricochet. But as Nakamura got into the ring and he hit the ropes, he was about to strike his pose that he does. Seth Rollins' music hit, and he walked out. Adam Pearce was there to try to stop him and hold him back. Security guards, or geeks, I prefer geeks, they came out to try to stop Seth Rollins, and they're all so useless that, of course, he blew right past them. Hopefully they never joined the Secret Service. So Nakamura avoided him, and he hid behind security while they continued to hold back Rollins. So now we got the match. It was Nakamura one-on-one against Ricochet. Nakamura was in control until Ricochet came back with a dive ahead of a break. Nakamura was in control when that break was over. Ricochet fought back with a handspring elbow and a standing shooting star press for 2, followed by a springboard crossbody as well. Nakamura, he tried to attack Ricochet with a steel chair. He went outside, he grabbed the chair. Ricochet ducked, hit a super kick, and then he saw the chair. And so Ricochet said, well, what's good for one is good for the other. And he reached down, he picked up the chair, and he smashed Nakamura in the back with it, which of course was a disqualification. So after Nakamura was announced the winner by Ricochet's fiance, he argued with the referee until Shinsuke kicked his ankle from behind. Just came up from behind, kicked him right in the ankle. Down goes Ricochet. Nakamura followed that with a Kinshasa to the back of the head, and then he wrapped Ricochet's leg around the ring post, and he hit it 3 times with a chair. Seth Rollins hops the barricade. He comes from out of the crowd, hops the barricade. He attacks Nakamura. Rollins rolls Nakamura into the ring. He tried to pedigree him. He was going to pedigree him on the chair. And instead, Nakamura back body dropped him. And he landed back first on top of the chair. And immediately, Rollins begins to scream in agony. He's selling the lower back. Because this is the story they've been telling now ever since, even before Payback. Leading up to Payback. right? He's got the lower lumbar fractures. He's got the bad back. So he's immediately selling the back. Adam Pearce, some agents, security, they try to intervene. Rollins, though, he pulls Nakamura out to ringside. Nakamura ends up dumping him back first on top of the announce desk. And as he was leaving, as he was backing up the ramp, Nakamura grabbed one of these giant, like, fat heads of Seth Rollins from some fan in the crowd, like a maybe it wasn't a fat head, but it was like a cutout. And he held it in front of his own face as he backed up the ramp. I thought it was a good angle. There's just not a lot of heat for it because I don't think people are really buying into Nakamura as a legitimate threat, which sounds weird. I mean, if you would have told me this years ago, I'm like, of course he's a legitimate threat, but I don't think a lot of people are necessarily buying him as one. So not a ton of heat for this, but I thought it was a good angle. And again, it put the focus on Seth's bad back. Michael Cole, he tried to explain on commentary that Nakamura didn't attempt many falls during the match. He really wasn't trying to win. That's the story. He was trying to hurt Ricochet more than he was trying to actually win the match, which I appreciate him mentioning that because Nakamura is challenging for the championship again at Fastlane, most likely. And why can't he go out there and win a match clean? He hasn't had that many matches anyway since Payback, but the matches he's had, he can't even win them clean. So at least they tried on commentary to explain why. He's not out there trying to win. He's trying to hurt this guy, so at least they threw that out there. Now, after a break, they showed Rollins in the back. He was limping into the trainer's room, and he tried to refuse help. He ended up collapsing, and they helped him anyway. We'll get back to Rollins a little bit later on because we have an update on where this is going. We had Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark. They are indeed a tag team. And they wrestled the women's tag team champions, Chelsea Green and Piper Niven, in a non-title match. Piper executed a shoulder breaker on Zoe that led to a 2 count. Later on, Starks put Chelsea down and had her pinned, but Niven broke it up. Baszler ran in, and she sent Piper to the floor. So Niven comes back, slams Baszler on the floor, and all of a sudden, a wild Nia Jax appears. Just like last week, if you remember the end of the women's title match. Raquel Rodriguez outside the ring is putting Rhea back inside. Nia Jax shows up. It gives her a Samoan drop on the floor. So here she is again. Nia Jax reemerges. And this time she attacked Piper Niven, ran her into the ring steps, which led to a no contest. And I'm okay with that. It wasn't back-to-back disqualifications, which would have been a bit much. It was a no contest, and it's good because it spares... Look, if they're putting Baszler and Zoe Stark together as a team, this is their first match together as a tag team. They don't need to be going in there and losing in their first match. So it spares them a loss. So I'm okay with that. Nia gets into the ring. She puts Zoe down with a Samoan drop. Then she hits the ropes and hits a running senton. Green gets to her feet. Chelsea has no idea until she turns around that Nia's even there. And so she yells and she goes to run away, and Nia grabs her by the hair. And she puts her down. Hits the running hip attack. Sweet cheek music, as Tony Storm would say. Into the corner on Chelsea. Then she goes over to the other corner. She... splashes Shayna Baszler in that corner and then sets her up for the Banzai drop, which they are now calling the Annihilator. Apparently that's the name of her finish now. So the Banzai drop is called the Annihilator, and she delivers the Banzai. And as she left the ring, the camera caught Nia saying that it's open season and she's going to take out anybody that she wants, and she warned the division is on notice. Take that as a threat. That's a shoot. Be careful. The division is now on notice. So that's the story. She's going to be laying waste, I guess, to everybody in this division. But when Rhea comes back, Nia is probably getting the next title shot, which could be at Fastlane. I don't expect Rhea to be gone more than a week. I expect her to be back on the show next week. I thought I saw some photo of her and Buddy Matthews at a sporting event, at a game, and it might have been in Australia. I don't know. So it's possible that they just wanted to give her the week off, so they came up with the injury excuse. It's possible they were at a game here in the States. I just thought they were overseas, so that might explain why they kept her off the show and did the angle last week. But I fully expect her to be back on television next week. I'm hoping, this is my hope, that the idea is to build Nia up for a few weeks as a monster, to get to Fastlane, and they do the match at Fastlane to give Rhea a big, scary opponent, to give this big monster opponent for her to go in there and beat and look impressive against, and hopefully come out of it unscathed and retain her women's championship, and it's one and done, and then they move on. Because I have no interest in seeing Nia Jax on my television for months and months sitting on people. Although I know that there's probably a good segment of wrestling fans who would pay to have that done to them, but there's always a market for something. But I have no interest in seeing it on my television every week for weeks and weeks and weeks on end. So they can do the match, they can have her beat Nia. All right, she beat Nia Jax, and then she can move on to somebody else. There's no need to prolong this pain here, because I don't see the Nia Jax experiment ending any better than it did the first time. Frankly, I'm not sure whose bright idea it was to resume the experiment to begin with, although everything starts and stops with one man. Just because Endeavor owns it now doesn't mean that that's changed. So I think we all know who's responsible for that. Adam Pearce was backstage on the phone when Chad Gable walked up to him and asked, hey, how's Seth? As if he gives a shit. He had his own business to tend. He's just being nice. He doesn't give a fuck. So he asks, oh, how's Seth? And Pearce says, look, he's not great, and I'm dealing with that. I'm dealing with the Nia Jax stuff. I don't have time. And Gable's like, look, I don't want to take up much of your time. I just have one thing I want to ask you about. And he asked him for one more shot at Gunther. He wants one more title shot, one more shot at the Intercontinental title. And Pearce said, look, you had a star-making performance in the ring with Gunther the last time, but you lost. And I can't just slide you into another championship match because you lost the last one. So he's going to have to earn his way back up. Bronson Reed shows up. Big Bronson Reed. He shows up, told Gable to get to the back of the line. Gable told him to shoosh, which I really wish that he would drop that because he is being more serious now. Every time I hear him do the shoosh, it makes him Goofy Gable again. This is not the time for Goofy Gable. We had Goofy Gable. We could always go back to it. But right now, I think we should get serious Gable. Because after what Gable did in the ring with Gunther, as close as he came, and then Gunther beats him and laughs as his daughter is bawling her eyes out in the front row. Gunther gave an interview to Sportskeeda, and he's such a great fucking heel. So they asked him about the match, right? And he's actually putting over Chad Gable, talking about what a great athlete he is. And he mentioned, I like that little bit of heartbreak at the end. And they brought up Gable's daughter crying. Gable's daughter crying. And he's like, I like that. I like that. So again, you have this man he is relishing in the fact that your daughter was traumatized at the end of this match. And now you're going to do everything in your power to scratch and claw and fight your way back into title contention. I don't need to see this guy going around doing a thank you and shoosh and a thank you and shoosh. Okay, leave that shit behind. This is a different Chad Gable. This is the Chad Gable that I want to see win the Intercontinental title. Not Mr. Shoosh. I want to see Gable the wrestling machine who went in there and picked fucking Gunther up and deadlifted him into the air and had the crowd on the edge of their seat losing their minds when they thought he might actually win the championship. That's the Chad Gable that I want to see go on to win the Intercontinental title. So Adam Pearce, they're going back and forth, and Pearce is like, look, you guys, you go out to the ring, you can have a match next. You guys can settle it out there in the ring. Elsewhere, Jackie Redmond interviewed Jey Uso, and she asked about his not-so-warm welcome back to Raw. Jey talked about how he knows everybody's got their eyes on him. He said he has history with Drew McIntyre and said that they would get physical tonight. Damian Priest showed up, and he told Jey that the Judgment Day was looking for an Uso. He said the crew was pushing hard for Jimmy, which is true. If you watch SmackDown on Friday, Finn Balor, after his match with AJ Styles, was in the back lobbying Jimmy to join the Judgment Day. But he said it's not a dictatorship. Priest said that if Jey is willing, the Judgment Day could be the family that he's been looking for his entire life. And he asked Jey not to make him look bad in front of his family, and he asked him if he can give him an answer by the end of tonight. And he did. He did give him his answer by the end of the night. Perk Gable? No. We don't need to go to that extreme. We don't need to see Perk Gable. I mean, look, Perk Angle was a fucking machine. But Perk Angle also can't pick up his kids now because his body is so beaten to shit. I don't want to see Chad Gable do that to himself. Hey, JL, happy birthday. It's JL's birthday. He's chilling here with the crew here on YouTube. Happy birthday, JL. Chad Gable against Big Bronson Reed. Gable hit an early missile drop kick. Reed, though, stayed on his feet. And Reed put Gable down with a power slam. He was working him over. Reed pressed Gable over his head, and he tossed him onto one of the top turnbuckles pretty violently. And Gable was kind of loopy. He landed on his feet on the apron. And Reed came charging off the ropes and knocked him to the floor as they went to a commercial break. Late in the match, Reed went for a running senton. Gable, though, got the knees up. And in doing so, he injured himself in storyline because Bronson Reed is a big man. Bronson Reed is probably every bit of 330 pounds. So you get 330 pounds running through the air and landing on top of your knees, you're probably going to hurt yourself. So he immediately grabbed his knee. And when he tried for a German suplex, his knee gave out. And he couldn't do it. He couldn't follow through. Reed placed Gable on his back, and then with all of his weight, he just fell backwards and just squashed him like a bug right in the middle of the ring, dragged him over to the corner. He went up top, and he crushed him with the tsunami splash. And that was all that she wrote. I do love how they protect that move. Crushed him with the tsunami and picked up the win. This only went 6 minutes. Again, I said a lot of short matches on this show. Now, for comparison's sake, the Kofi and Ivar match went almost 15 minutes. So this was a short match. It was good for the time it lasted. Now, after this, I'm going to talk about Gable, but let me mention this next segment first. Because immediately after this, Tommaso Ciampa had a promo on the back. He was sitting in a chair facing the camera. And he said that he decided to play the long game and be patient. Once he arrived on Raw, he said he waited, and he waited, and he waited. And he learned that patience is a crutch. And he said that you have to create your own opportunities. And he told Gunther, "You have what I want." So that is very interesting. With Gable's loss here on this show and Ciampa's promo, it looks like Ciampa is next for Gunther. Or maybe he has to fight Bronson Reed for it, since Bronson Reed is the one who pinned Chad Gable. But the point is, Gable now goes to the back of the line. I wasn't sure if they were going to immediately go into Gunther Gable for it Fastlane, or they were going to hold off and drag it out and build to it. And it looks like that's exactly what they're going to do. Now, I had a few people on Twitter tonight say that, oh, you're being foolish if you think that Gable is going to win the title. The story is clearly there if they want to tell it. The fact that they're still giving Gable promo time and they're still having Gable come out on television and say, "I want Gunther, I want one more match, I want one more shot, what he did to my family," right? I swear to God, I'm going to win the Intercontinental. He swore to God. You have a babyface saying, "I swear to God, I'm going to win the championship." What a fucking fool he would look like if he doesn't follow through. All these big words and what you did to my daughter, and the story is there. The story is being told. So yes, I do believe he is going to be the one to take the Intercontinental title from Gunther. And if he isn't, then you can laugh in my face. But it seems pretty apparent to me that this is the story they're telling. They're going to take their time with it. Do I think they go all the way to WrestleMania with it? I don't. Although that would be a big WrestleMania match for Chad Gable. What a moment for him that would be. But I don't think they're going to WrestleMania with it. I don't really like that idea anyway, because I feel like Gunther should be involved in something a little bit bigger by the time they get to Philadelphia next year. So I'm okay with them taking their time to build this, and Gable has to work his way back up into, the number one contender position. And so now that we know that it's not happening at Fastlane, what I would like to see, take these next few months to really build Chad Gable back up. He took the loss tonight. I don't think that's going to be the last loss that he takes. I think he's going to be, he's going to suffer a few losses. He's going to be down in the dumps, and he's going to have to really work himself back up. When we get to the beginning of next year, now they made the announcement this past week that the Royal Rumble is coming to Tropicana Field again. They were in Tropicana Field 2 years ago. No fans. It was the Thunderdome. Tropicana Field actually was the home of the Thunderdome for many months. Now they have people back. It'll be a big stadium show. They'll have 40, 50,000 people there. I like the idea of Chad Gable earns his way back up to the number one contender spot just in time for the Royal Rumble. You open that Royal Rumble show with Gunther Gable 4. This is it. This is it. And I don't want to see the stipulation where if Chad Gable doesn't win, he retires, or because that, you don't do that. I hate when they do those stipulations. It is such a fucking dead giveaway for what the outcome is going to be. You do Gunther Gable 4. It can have a stipulation, whatever the stipulation may be. If you want to make it a 30-minute Iron Man match, you want to make it, I don't even know that it needs a stipulation, honestly. They wrestle at the beginning of the show. Gable wins, right? They have this great competitive match. Gable finally pulls off the impossible. His family is there. His daughter is there. It's this great moment. What a way to open the show, right? And then Gunther comes back later on in the night and he wins the men's Royal Rumble match. So now you've told this story with Chad Gable, this feel-good story, and this man now finally, he won the Intercontinental title that he swore he was going to win. And Gunther loses absolutely nothing. He's already set the record. He's beaten the Honky Tonk Man. He's going to reign on for many more months. He's going to have a record. Nobody's going to break it for years to come. Having a competitive match with a fan favorite like Chad Gable and falling short, and then immediately going and winning the Royal Rumble and punching your ticket to a world title match at WrestleMania does no harm whatsoever to Gunther. Except for the people who think, oh, Chad Gable's too small. I can't buy into him as the Intercontinental Champion. I mean, even though you see this man suplexing people twice his size on television, apparently these people are fucking blind. But nonetheless, maybe that's why people don't want to see Chad Gable beat Gunther. But Gunther loses nothing if he loses to Gable and comes right back and wins the Rumble. No one's going to be thinking about, oh my God, this guy lost. I can't take him seriously. I mean, give me a fucking break. That's what I would like to see them do. And that way, Gunther goes on to WrestleMania. He could challenge Seth Rollins, and you can do Rollins and Gunther for the World Heavyweight title. There you go. That's what I would like to see them do. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, they were arguing backstage about Jey Uso when Jey showed up and told Owens, look, if you got something to say, you should say it to my face. Thinking he's Alex Riley over here. Say it to my face. Owens assumed that Jey was going to end up joining the Judgment Day, and he said he doesn't trust Jey either way, and he told him, go ahead and join. Owens said, you know what? We don't have a match tonight, so he's going to leave. He told Sami, I'll meet you at the car. And that left Sami and Jey by themselves. Jey told Sami, hey, you better talk to your boy. And Sami said, it looks like you got a big decision to make. And he wished him luck, and Jey thanked him, and that was the end of that. We have the new NXT Women's Champion, Becky Lynch. She defeated Tiffany Stratton last week. I did a review for NXT on the podcast on Sunday. I talked about the match, and it was a very good match. It was a star-making performance for Tiffany Stratton. I thought she looked great. Even though she lost, she's going to be just fine, and I expect her to get the title back soon. I don't think Becky is going to have a long run as the champion. But you look at the numbers that NXT did last week, and that's why they did it. I mean, NXT did its best numbers in 3 years. The Overrun did 1 million viewers. One of the last time NXT did 1 million anything. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, NXT, if they put numbers up like that on a consistent basis, they're going to be beating AEW Dynamite. Okay, that's why they did what they did. So Becky was out here tonight with her NXT Women's Championship. And she said that winning the title was not on her bingo card this year, but she's learned that you have to take opportunities when you can. She says she didn't want to put the title on her mantle so she could say she's a Grand Slam champion. She wants to defend it. She wants to be a fighting champion. She wants to elevate the title to heights never seen before. She said NXT is the future of the business and it represents hope, hunger, passion, and progress. She said that she wants to face the very best that NXT has to offer. She said that she will be at NXT on Tuesday and she issued an open challenge. Oh my fucking God. I am so done with these open challenges. Just, when will it end? In both companies. When will it end? Another open challenge. How many do we have right now active between WWE and AEW? We have this one for the NXT Women's title, if we assume this is going to continue. Okay, so we have this one. We have the international title is basically being defended every week in an open challenge. The AEW tag team titles are being defended in an open challenge. The TBS title is being defended every week in an open challenge. And the only reason we're not getting TNT championship matches in open challenges is because Christian Cage said, we're not doing that anymore. And fuck your father. Those are the two things that Christian Cage said. I'm done with the open challenges. And the concept of it, I understand, like, she wants new talent to step up. So this gets even better, okay? So the idea of her doing an open challenge is she wants to know what young, hungry talent in the back who has not been in this position before is going to step up and try to take this title away from me, right? And so you think, all right, well, whatever. It's an open challenge. Maybe they can make a star with it, right? John Cena tried to do that with the U.S. title open challenge many years ago. Remember Sami Zayn? Remember Bret Hart? They were in fucking Montreal. And they had Bret Hart there. And Bret Hart introduced Sami Zayn, his very first appearance on the main roster. And what a great moment that was. Right? Except for the fact that he fucking tore his rotator cuffs by flinging his arms around. Like one of those fucking, what do you call them again? Tube man? Remember the Bailey buddies? That was Sami Zayn when he came out. He tore his fucking shoulders. But like, the concept of an open challenge could work. Natalya makes her way to the ring. We got fucking Natalya answering the open challenge. Why? I ask you again, why? She said nobody has worked their ass off as much as she has. She took Rhea Ripley to her limit many weeks ago and has been patiently waiting for her chance. She accepted the open challenge. Becky says she respects Natty and they've known each other a long time, but she offered the open challenge because she wanted somebody new to get an opportunity, and Natty has been there for 15 years. Natty said that Becky went to NXT and stepped over everybody there. She called her a hypocritical ginger witch. And then she shoved Becky, and so Becky accepted. Natty is not wrong, by the way, when she says that Becky just showed up to NXT and stepped over everybody else and cut to the front of the line. There's no lies there. That is true. That is exactly what happened. So we had Becky Lynch against Natalya. And the crowd goes mild. Now, Tegan Nox, I have some news here. Tegan Nox was originally going to be the one to challenge Becky Lynch for the NXT Women's Championship on this show. There was a late change. There were actually a number of changes, apparently, late in the date of this show, as there were last week. One of those changes was Tegan Nox was pulled from this match, and instead, she wrestles Xia Li on main event. Yes, Xia Li is still employed, for those of you who forgot about her. So Tegan and Xia wrestled on main event. Natty was going to wrestle Xia. She got pulled and she got the spot instead. Why? I don't know. So they swapped them. Now, Tegan Nox is an example of somebody who they've done fuck all with in months, and that could have potentially been an interesting match. Tegan Nox against Becky Lynch for the first time. But we didn't get it. So Becky put Natalya down with an exploder. Natty stuffed a manhandle slam, countered into a release German suplex. Natty went for a sharpshooter. Becky, though, countered into an inside cradle for 2. Natty came back with a superplex and got 2 of her own. Becky avoided the sharpshooter, countered into the disarm her. Natty escaped, and Becky rolled her up for a 2 count. Natty then rolled on top of her for a cover. And then Becky pulled her over and got a deep roll up. And she managed to get the 3 count and retain her title. So that was it. Becky beats Natalya. I ask you again, what was the fucking point of this? If you're going to do an open challenge gimmick, then let the woman go out there and defend against people that we normally wouldn't see get this opportunity. Because Natty is an established name, Tegan Nox is not, but holy fuck, this crowd didn't seem to give a shit once the bell rang and this match started. And it's not hard to see why. You know, Natty, she's been there forever. It's not a knock on her personally. She's basically the Dolph Ziggler of the women's division. Dolph is very talented, but Dolph has been there forever. He blends in like the drapes. And after a while, people just don't get excited to see him anymore. And actually, we haven't seen Dolph. I almost didn't even notice. We haven't seen him on television in months. I think Natty is somebody, frankly, who would benefit from being off television for a while. She wants to go work matches on Main Event with Xia Li, or she wants to go and work matches with some of the younger talent in NXT. I think that's fine. But it doesn't add anything to the show. Backstage, Adam Pearce was talking with Dragon Lee. Dominik Mysterio entered the room and said that he lost to Cody Rhodes earlier because Rhea Ripley was not by his side. And he said that Adam Pearce wasn't doing his job and he allowed Rhea to get hurt at the hands of Nia Jax. Instead of addressing the Nia Jax issue, he's busy dealing with people like Dragon Lee. And he said that Lee doesn't... He said he doesn't like guys, Dominik said, in masks because they remind him of his deadbeat dad. And then Dragon Lee said it was kind of hard to hear everything he was saying, but he did talk about taking the title from Dominik next week. This was not the best introduction of Dragon Lee to WWE television. His big introduction included him standing in the front row, and then this segment here where he said a few words and then he walked off. So if you don't know Dragon Lee, and I'll guarantee you there are a lot of people who watch this show on Mondays who don't know Dragon Lee, this was not a great introduction to who he is and how talented he is. But he is apparently going to get a title match on television next week. It's hard to imagine that he's going to win the championship next week just because they're really pushing this Dominik and Mustafa Ali match for No Mercy at the end of the month. I think No Mercy's coming up in about, less than 2 weeks. I think September 30th is the show. So I'm not expecting a title change next week. Tommaso Ciampa went one-on-one with Giovanni Vinci, who came out with Ludwig Kaiser in his corner. Gunther was there, but not at ringside with them. He was shown backstage watching on a screen. Ciampa caught Vinci with a perfectly timed knee to the jaw as Vinci came off the ropes with a springboard. Ciampa then locked in the Sicilian stretch. Vinci held on for a while. He did not tap out right away, but ultimately he did tap out, and Ciampa picked up the win. And when the match was over, Kaiser was scolding Vinci for his loss. With all of the losing that he has been doing, because Giovanni Vinci is very talented, but he's a fucking loser. All he does is lose and get yelled at. So with all the losing that he's been doing, it seems like he may be on his way out of Imperium soon, and maybe he gets replaced by somebody else. I don't know who that would be. And I know some people have said Ilya Dragunov. Ilya Dragunov made a good point. He did an interview not too long ago and said he doesn't want to join Imperium because it doesn't make any sense. He and Imperium are like polar opposites. The way he described it, Imperium, they're kind of cold and calculated and kind of reserved. And he's a fucking wild man. So he doesn't even think it would be a good fit. I mean, ultimately, it's not his choice, right? If they say, hey, you're joining Imperium, then he's joining Imperium. But assuming it's not him, I don't know who else, would be the right fit for Imperium. I'm not saying that person doesn't exist, but all the losing that this guy is doing, it just seems to me like it's got to be leading to something. If he keeps losing, then why would Gunther want him in the group? It's embarrassing. Kick him out. Now, Ciampa winning his match and Bronson Reed winning his match has me thinking we're going to get a match between the two of them. And the winner of that match, probably Ciampa, will get the shot at Fastlane against Gunther for the Intercontinental title. Byron Saxton was in the back. And he approached Seth Rollins in the hallway as he was limping around wearing his stupid sunglasses. Rollins said that he was trying to keep it together, but he was losing his mind. And he chucked the stupid glasses. He looked into the camera. He said he would do anything to get Nakamura in the ring. And he told Nakamura to just name the time and the place. He said, you could even pick the stipulation. Rollins said their destinies were intertwined. And he told Nakamura to ask himself, will you be the one to define your legacy or will it be me? Nakamura is being advertised for the show next week. He's going to give his response to Seth Rollins. So we'll get the official announcement of the Fastlane match next week. What stipulation do we think that they're going to go with for this match? My first thought, last man standing. And I think last man standing would make sense because of the back injury. Rollins takes a move. He immediately grabs the back. We see this every week. We saw it tonight on the show. He was limping around for the rest of the night in the back. Last man standing, you can build drama. Can Rollins get up? Nakamura focuses on the back. And it's not a matter of pinning Seth or making him submit. Can he get back to his feet in time? I mean, they could even do a title change. I'm not advocating this. I don't think Nakamura is winning the championship, but if he was going to, last man standing is actually the stipulation that makes the most sense. You don't have to pin Seth. You've got the built-in excuse with the injury. And so Nakamura can win the title without even pinning the guy. I don't think that's going to happen, but I do think last man standing is probably, if I had to guess what the stipulation is going to be, that would be my guess. Dr. Bropio says stretcher match. Could be something like that, a stretcher match, an ambulance match. But I'm thinking last man standing. Main event, Jey Uso was in the main event. One-on-one with Drew McIntyre. They got off to a slow start. Uso nailed 2 straight suicide dives. Both men were down at ringside when the Judgment Day walked out, right as they cut to commercial. Coming out of the break, McIntyre delivered a superplex. Both men got back to their feet. We got a slugfest while Balor, Priest, and Dominik watched from the outside. Uso caught McIntyre coming off the ropes with a Samoan drop for a near fall. Drew climbed to the top, and he jumped off. Jey moved out of the way, and Drew ended up hitting him with a spine buster. He went for a jackknife pin, only got 2. McIntyre got a neck breaker, and then he kipped up to his feet. And he backed himself up into the corner. He was setting up for the Claymore kick. We got the countdown. Dominik distracted the referee on the opposite side of the ring. And Priest grabbed Drew's foot. When he turned around, Jey caught him with a super kick, and he covered him, but he only got a 2 count. Outside the ring, now Jey is in the corner. And it's like a boxing fight where the trainers come over and they're giving the fighter words of encouragement. Balor comes over, he tells Jey, it's time to join the Judgment Day. He's like, come on. Priest gets up on the apron, and he gives Jey a pep talk, and the two of them fist bump. And Priest was so excited. He fist bumps this guy. He's so excited because he thinks this guy's going to join the Judgment Day. You can see him. Oh, I'm excited. Holy shit, look who it is. Look who joined us.
We're having a party here.
Oh my God, look at this. Holy shit.
It's ABK.
Good morning, he
Always
says.
be killing it.
Good morning from ABK with the $205 super chat. 205 from ABK. Hey ABK, I don't know if you were here earlier, but we hit 75,000 subscribers today, so we're celebrating here on the stream. So right on time with that celebratory super chat there. I love it. Hey, ABK, thank you, man. $205 super chat. Amazing. Always be killing it. But Damian Priest was so excited, you could see him mouth the words, fuck yeah. I'll say that too for ABK. Fuck yeah. That's right. So yeah, you could clearly see him say that. But then his joy, poor Damian Priest, his joy turned to despair when Jey super kicked him, and then Jey super kicked Finn Balor off the apron. He super kicked Dominik. But when the super kick party was over and he turned around, he ate a Claymore kick. And he got pinned. So Jey Uso gave the Judgment Day his answer. That answer was a resounding no. And it cost him the match. Now Drew leaves the ring. He's leaving. All three members of the Judgment Day get back into the ring and they put a beat down on Jey. It's 3-on-1. Drew just turned and he watched from the stage, but made no attempt to come down to save Jey Uso. He's watching. You can kind of see in his mind, he's wondering, should I or shouldn't I? Ultimately, in the end, he chose not to help. We hear Cody Rhodes' music. He blows right past Drew McIntyre. He comes down to the ring. He low-bridged Priest over the top rope to the floor. He punched Balor. Jey kicked him. And then Cody laid Dominik out with the crossroads as the Judgment Day retreated. And that's how they went off the air. Now, if you'll recall, a few weeks ago, there was a segment in the back. Drew McIntyre was very upset about something, and I think he was with Riddle. Riddle was trying to calm him down. But Drew McIntyre dropped a little hint that he might have to have some words, depending on how this Jey Uso thing works out. He may have to have some words with Cody Rhodes, since Cody's the one who was responsible for bringing Jey to Raw. Tonight, as you saw there at the end, Cody, he blew right by him to go help Jey when Drew would not. It's going to come to a head very soon between Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre. Now, I don't know if it happens in time for Fastlane. Cody didn't even have a match at Payback, okay? He had a talk show segment with Grayson Waller. He needs to have a match on this show. You can't have back-to-back pay-per-views. It's bad enough Roman Reigns isn't around. How are you going to have Payback and Fastlane and no Cody Rhodes match? So he really should have a match on that show. But it feels like it might be too early to do him against Drew. So I'm not sure if they would go to that quickly. But it feels like a McIntyre heel turn is coming soon. It feels like a Drew McIntyre heel turn on Cody Rhodes is coming soon. They could have done it right there at the end of the show, but I think that would have been too soon. There's no need to rush that. Here's another story, right? Take your time telling that story. Cody has had nothing to do since Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam. SummerSlam was August 5th. Today is September 19th. It's officially after midnight, so it's September 19th. We're heading into a pay-per-view October 7th. That's going to be 2 months after SummerSlam. What exactly has Cody Rhodes done in these 2 months? Nothing. Nothing. He's had a few matches with the Judgment Day. Everybody on this show has matches with the Judgment Day. He's had no story. So Cody and Drew, well, there's something that he can do. And if he is going to be traded to SmackDown, you can hold off on that until this plays itself out. This would at least give him something to do. I just don't know, again, if they're going to go to it that quickly and actually do the match at Fastlane. But I do think the heel turn is coming. And where that leaves Matt Riddle, we don't know where that leaves Matt Riddle anyway. Because, again, he was partners with Drew, and so if Drew's going to turn, how that affects him, I mean, who gives a shit? But we'll see. But overall, I thought it was a solid show. The first hour was pretty good. And then you hit hour 2, and then the deeper into it you got, I mean, it was okay, but it just wasn't very interesting. It wasn't as interesting as the opening hour of the show was. They told some stories. I didn't really feel like there was a lot of filler on this show. Everything was pretty much there. It meant something. It served a purpose. Again, I don't care at all for the Nia Jax stuff. I would not have brought her back. I think that's a mistake. But again, there's a story there too, where they're building her up for Rhea Ripley when Rhea Ripley comes back. So everything at least served a purpose. And I thought overall, like I said, it was a solid effort tonight. Here's the Twitter poll. 63% thumbs up is the score so far for Raw tonight from all of you. 36% thumbs down. That is with 600 plus votes in so far and counting. So go ahead and get those votes. How's your dad? Says Christian Cage there in that $5 super chat from Rizzo. How's your dad? That's what Christian Cage wants to know. He wants to know how everyone's dad is doing. Christian is a menace. That's what that man is. All right, let's check out your super chats and what you guys thought of the show tonight, because this is a very interactive show. And I want to hear from you guys. There was a lot of hate for Raw in the chat tonight. A lot of you guys didn't like it. You thought it was boring. You thought it fucking sucked. Some of you enjoyed it more than others. So let me hear from you. Tuxedo T Servo says Nia Jax is back. Nobody is safe. I needed that laugh today. Thank you so much. You're very welcome. Just thinking, what title should I give this video? That seemed like inappropriate. And it's true. Tell me I'm lying. Tell me when I'm telling lies. Lakers Pat says Vince having veto power on the UFC is hilarious. It would be kind of funny. I mean, I know Dana White is still the booker over there, but technically Vince is above him in the hierarchy there.
Look, everyone, it's Samoa BRO.
Samoa BRO. It would be kind of funny if, like, 2 hours before the UFC shows, they get rebooked. Can you imagine, like, 2 hours before a UFC pay-per-view, the whole thing gets blown up because Dana White feels like, well, we got to cancel this fight, we're going to flip this fighter, and we're going to move this here, we're going to move this there. Fucking ridiculous. Mr. Andrew, can we talk about Asuka's tweet and being dumb enough to say fans shouldn't care that Nia hurt people in the past because it's not like we are the victim? Is that what Asuka said? I didn't see that tweet. If she did tweet that, that is pretty stupid. Give me backshots, Solomonster says, what would be a better hypothetical feud down the line? Carmelo Hayes against Montez Ford or Bianca Belair against Jade Cargill? As a match, Montez Ford and Carmelo Hayes, I think, would tear it up. As an attraction, you give Jade a good year or so down in NXT. If she continues to improve, then I think down the road, Bianca and Jade, I think, would be the bigger attraction. But that all depends on how she progresses. She's still not there yet. Metal Rules with that $50 Gunther bomb says, I must say it's good to see full stadiums on Raw and SmackDown, and congrats on the 75K subs. So again, thank you to Metal Rules. Trill Mexican 305, thank God you are okay, Solo. I was in fear that you were in fear of your life last Friday. Now, is it odd that Becky Lynch won the NXT Women's Championship and now Jade Cargill is in Orlando this week, he says. Jade Cargill was in Orlando earlier today. She is no longer in Orlando. I believe she is back in Atlanta. PW Insider had a report earlier, somebody who was actually on the same flight as her. She was leaving Florida, I believe, to go back to Atlanta. So she was there. She is not going to be on NXT this week. I don't know if you're implying that perhaps they're going to be setting up Becky and Jade Cargill for the NXT Women's Championship. Wouldn't that be something? Wouldn't that be something? I cannot imagine that they're going to have Jade Cargill debut and beat one of their biggest female stars right out of the gate. I mean, Cody has been, well, we could argue about WrestleMania this year, but Cody has largely been protected. Cody has not been buried. Cody's done well for himself since coming over from AEW. They didn't bury him. They didn't make fun of him. They didn't keep beating him over and over again. So I don't think that they'll do that with Jade. But Becky and Jade, I don't see that. Not yet. Sonic Youth 615. Terrible day at work. Very thankful for this stream. Congrats on 75,000. I'm sorry you had a shitty day at work. I know that feeling. I've had plenty of shitty days at work. So I'm glad to have you. Thank you, Sonic Youth. Brandon Vasquez, if Survivor Series has War Games, could we see Team Jey against Team Jimmy? Judgment Day. What is it? Judgment Day, Solo, and Jimmy against Jey, Sami, KO, Cody, AJ. If not AJ, perhaps John Cena. Jimmy, Solo, and the Judgment Day, that would be 5. And then Jey, Sami, KO, Cody, and... I mean, it's possible. Team Jimmy against Team Jey. I guess I could see that. It's possible. Still have not heard anything about War Games. Not even a tease that they're thinking about adding it. Doesn't mean they can. It's only September. But right now, I'm not sure if there's even going to be a War Games match. Skywalker. Do you think someone should pitch the idea to Nick Khan to have Howard Finkel return in an angle to get his job back as a ring announcer for WWE? We'll give it time. I'm sure that Bill Simmons will pitch that idea. I, for one, would be in favor of a hologram Howard Finkel doing the ring. I mean, I love Samantha Irvin. I think she's great. But for, like, big matches, if they could have, like, hologram Fink, even if we just hear his voice, like AI Fink, I'd love to see that. Paul Carpenter, he kicked his ankle out from under his ankle. No. He kicked his ankle out of his ankle. Gotta say it right. Juice Giorgio with the 1999. Congrats on 75K. Hey, Juice, thank you for the 20 bucks, man. I appreciate that. Brandon Vasquez, Gable wins the Intercontinental title at the Royal Rumble from Gunther. McIntyre wins the belt at the Elimination Chamber from Gable. Sheamus then beats McIntyre at Mania to finally win the IC title. So a short run for Chad Gable, huh? You still have the little issue of Sheamus not even being on that show. I mean, I know they basically ignored the brand split anyway, but he still technically has to be on the show that has the Intercontinental title. So you really haven't explained to me how you're going to work your way around that. Orhan. Rank in terms of star power: Triple H, Shawn Michaels, and Bret Hart. Well, I mean, what are we talking about? I guess we're talking wrestling star power, right? Star power would have to be Triple H. I mean, if you have to include the position he's in now. You can't ignore that. So Triple H has to be, I think Triple H has to be in the top spot then. If you're looking at their complete body of work, including what they're doing today, then I think it would have to be Triple H. You know, probably Shawn and then Bret, probably in that order. I think Triple H, then HBK and Bret. Because HBK is still around and he's running developmental now. He's running NXT. He's been more active in making appearances on television and doing stuff than Bret has been. Because unfortunately, Bret's career was cut short a long time ago, and Bret hasn't done much since. There's always going to be that what if question. If he didn't get hurt, how many more years would Bret have gone? Orhan also says, The Rock said that drawing power trumps everything else while rating wrestlers. Do you agree? Why or why not? That would mean Goldberg is bigger than Shawn Michaels and Kurt Angle. I didn't hear Rock say that. I would love to see that interview. But that's his opinion. You know, that drawing power trumps everything else. It's the whole argument of who do you think is the best wrestler of all time? Who's on your Mount Rushmore? It's a totally subjective thing. If you were to say to me, I believe that the 4 faces on Mount Rushmore should be Bruno Sammartino, Andre the Giant, Hulk Hogan, and Steve Austin. Who am I to say that Andre the Giant doesn't belong on Mount Rushmore, right? The only two that I think have to be an absolute given are Hogan and Austin. I don't think you can have a legitimate Mount Rushmore of wrestlers and not have them on there. And I don't care what you think, if you're not an Austin fan or a Hogan fan or a Rock fan. Hogan and Austin, they have to be on. But everybody else, I mean, it's pretty much subjective. Some people would put Randy Savage on there, Roddy Piper. Some people had longer runs than others. Some people's run at the top was not very long. Kurt Angle says he can't consider himself the GOAT because his career in WWE was very short. Yeah, that's him talking about his own career. I don't agree that drawing power alone trumps all, but that's just my opinion. I think there's a lot more that goes into it. As a fan, if I'm watching the product, there could be somebody who's a huge draw who I think is a fucking bore, then yeah, I'm not going to rank them very high. Because to me, I don't give a shit if they, every match they did made millions of dollars. I don't give a shit. They're not going to rank as high as other people that I like, who I think have, if you want to consider them a five-tool player, to use a baseball term, that might matter more to me. If that's Rock's criteria, well, Rock is one of the biggest drawing cards in the history of the business. So it kind of makes sense that he would feel that way. And I'm not saying Rock is wrong, but you can't say that I'm wrong. There's no firm answer one way or the other. Daniel Malcolm, thank you for the super chat. Rizzo with the $10 says missed last week's stream, so I couldn't say that the Saddam was a mark line in last week's sound off was one of the funniest things you've ever said. I was in tears. Well, it's true. I wouldn't say it if it wasn't true. Saddam Hussein was a mark. You want to know what that's all about? The clip's up on the YouTube channel. Go look for it. Andre the Giant threatened by Saddam Hussein. It was part of the discussion that I had when I talked about the death of Sheikh Adnan al-Kaisi. General Adnan passed away a few weeks ago. Some very interesting background on him. Jazz Jackrabbit, Garcia should transition to tag. Thoughts on segments of him looking for partners, tracking down Wardlow, and them tearing it up. Odd couple. Warcia? I don't want to see that. We already had War Joe with him and Samoa Joe. You're going to put Wardlow in another random tag team? Like, Daniel Garcia should have joined the Blackpool Combat Club. There was a story they started telling with Garcia and Jericho almost a year ago, and then they just dropped it cold. And that really hurt him. Now he's got his stupid dance, which I guess is kind of sort of over, but is Daniel Garcia really in a better position now than he was a year ago? No. They had me interested in seeing where that story was going to go, and they just killed it. But he really would have been a better fit for the Blackpool Combat Club than Wheeler Yuta. ABK with that $205 bomb before. Thank you, ABK. Oh my god. Oh man. I thought I hit the replay button by accident. Oh.
We're having a party here on the stream. We're Barry Horowitz.
We are having a party on the stream. Look at that. I just read your first one. And then I was interrupted by his second one. ABK Mania running wild, man. Ripping off the shirt. Hulking up. Damn. The Carlosis. I always chuckled at the Green Man avoiding the 3 hours of Raw hole. Can't anymore after that Nia intro. This is why we can't have nice things. Well, you can blame... Who was it who made that? Was it Rizzo? Somebody made that comment. Blame them. Don't blame me. Edwin. I'm going to Raw next week. Hopefully it's more fun live than on TV. I would say usually it is, but man, I haven't been to a 3-hour Raw in person in a while, so With all the commercial breaks and dead time during the shows, if you've never been, I would say go at least once. You'll have fun, but I don't know, man. It's a crapshoot. Samoan fan, instead of getting Tegan Nox, we got Natalya on a show where Candice LeRae, Xia Li, Zoe Stark are on Raw. This has Vince written all over. Yeah, Tegan being replaced for Natty, that sounds like Vince. Rizzo, I'm wondering if the rumors were true that Bray was Cody's next opponent, because it really seems like he is directionless. We'll never know. Unless Cody comes out and says that was the plan, we don't know. I have not seen that reported reputably by anyone. I didn't before. I just saw the rumors on social media about it. It would make sense, but not really, because Bray, the reports about, here's the thing about Bray. The reports about Bray was that he could be back as early as this month. Well, we come to find out that Bray Wyatt was still wearing a heart device and was having serious heart problems. What fucking doctor would have cleared Bray Wyatt to come back in September if he was still having heart issues in August? That doesn't make any sense. So they had to know that Bray was not coming back anytime soon, if ever. So I don't actually buy that. Because how do you explain the rest of August after SummerSlam? They just didn't have anything for Cody. They don't have a good idea for, or they didn't. We'll see where this the Drew story goes, but no, I don't buy that. Because those reports about Bray being on his way back and they're working on creative for him now in hindsight doesn't make any sense. No doctor in their right mind, and WWE is very cautious when it comes to their medical stuff. Concussions. You think somebody with a heart issue is going to get clearance a few weeks later and be put back in the ring? I mean, you got to be nuts. Dr. Amen, yeah. Here's a Z-Pack. Get back out there. Rizzo with the 10 spot. Solo, you are Nick Khan. Why would you do this to me? You are Nick Khan. How would you do WWE's television schedule when they get their rights done? Khan said they are willing to move SmackDown. I'd move SmackDown to Tuesdays and NXT to Thursdays. No, I would move SmackDown to Thursdays. So you would have Raw on Monday, you would have NXT on Tuesday, because I think you want to put some distance between Raw and SmackDown. I don't think you want them back to back. So I think you do Raw Mondays, NXT Tuesday. Thursday, I think, is still a pretty good TV night. SmackDown airs on Thursdays. And I get my Friday nights back. Oh, joy. I'm okay with that. I'm actually kind of pulling for that. Zachariah Sitchin with the 1999. If the Judgment Day wanted Jey to join them, they ought to just have Rhea beat him like she did Dom. LOL. Anyways, how do you introduce Jade Cargill? Congrats on the 75,000 strong. I am glad to be part of this community. We are very happy to have you. Yeah, I think Rhea wrapped those thighs around Dom's neck a few times, and just like magic, he ended up joining the Judgment Day. Who among us, if Rhea Ripley did that to you, would you not join the Judgment Day? Of course you would. Let's be honest. How would I introduce Jade Cargill? I would introduce Jade Cargill in the Women's Royal Rumble match. And then she would be right back in NXT. And I would keep her there for a while until she was ready for prime time. And then I would call her up to the main roster. But I think her making a cameo in the Women's Royal Rumble would get people talking. It would be a fine way, I think, to introduce her. But we've had people from NXT who show up in the Rumble and it's not their main roster call-up. Just because she's in the Rumble doesn't mean that she's out of NXT. You kind of give people a little taste, a little tease. But she needs to spend time in NXT. She's not ready. She's going to, I mean, look, it's one thing for her to be in the ring with some of the people when she was doing her streak angle that she was in the ring with. She didn't really face any big names. Not a lot of big names in that time. Jade being on the same roster with people like, you know, Bayley and Becky and Asuka and Bianca and Rhea. These are people that are better than her. These are people that have far more experience than her and have picked it up a lot quicker than her. Bianca, you know, she's a natural at this. Jade is going to look just out of her depth if she's in the ring with any of those women. And so I think she would benefit greatly from spending time down at the PC and building herself up. And then when the time is right, you call her up and she will be a megastar for them. There's not a doubt in my mind. She looks like a star. She just has to hone her craft and just fine-tune things a little bit. And she'll get better. She'll get there. But don't rush into it. There's no need to rush into it. They might feel tempted to if they're paying her a lot of money, but I think that would be a mistake. She's not as good as some of those other women. You know, she will be outclassed by them. Zachariah says, how would you book the Roman and Cody versus Roman? Would you upset the IWC and book Roman to main event both nights? Oh, I think he means Rock. I have no idea what you were saying there. Well, if you mean Rock, I don't think the match is happening, and there's a whole clip that's up on the channel right now where I explain why. I don't think you need to book Roman both nights. You don't need to overload people on Roman Reigns. You can do Roman and Cody on night 2. 1 year later, you run it back again, and that is where Roman loses the championship. You want to have Rock involved. You want to have Rock host the show. You want to have Rock prevent the other members of the bloodline from screwing Cody like they did last year. Stopping Solo Sikoa from getting involved. Or, even better, instead of worrying about what The Rock might do, you have the story of Solo finally turning on Roman and saying, no, I'm not going to help you, and walking away. And Roman looking at him as he walks off, where are you going? What are you doing? After everything I've done for you. Now Roman's all by himself in the ring. It's one-on-one. And he loses. We finally have a new champion. It's a simple story. I said it the other day. Sometimes the best stories are the simplest ones that are staring you right in the face. Well, there's his follow-up super chat. I met Rock and Cody. Roman, here's another 5. Zachariah, you didn't have to do that. Thank you very much. But I hope that answers your question. I mean, look, if they wanted to do Rock and Roman, you know, it's not ideal either way. Because, first of all, Rock and Roman is not going on night 1. Like it's the runner-up to Roman and Cody. So that means you do Rock and Roman on night 2. But if you do Roman and Cody on night 1 and change the title, well, now it almost just feels you're marginalizing your title because the title goes first, and then the real main event goes on the next night, and then Roman wins. Like, what are we doing here? Like, what are we doing here? I just don't think the match is happening. I think Rock is more in love with the idea of wrestling again than actually wrestling again. Because if he wanted to wrestle again, guess what? He would have wrestled by now. It's been 10 years. You mean to tell me he couldn't free up his schedule in those 10 years? He said the other day, I control my schedule. Well, if that were true, he would have wrestled. It doesn't make sense. Dada and Boys podcast. If Cody had stayed with AEW as an EVP, do you think we still get all the Punk drama? After all, Cody was the competent one. Yeah, I think we get drama no matter what. I think things would have happened and egos are involved. And I think Cody probably had a lot of insight and he made the right decision. in leaving when he did. He was able to avoid all of that drama, and look at him. Cody Rhodes is going to get a WrestleMania main event before CM Punk does. I think Cody made the right move. Jazz Jackrabbit, do you think we'll have joint WWE UFC pressers? The media events themselves could evolve into spectacles. No, I don't. It would be a spectacle, but no. Can you imagine? Think of the WWE media scrums that they do, and just how sanitized they are, and some of the questions that get asked. Now imagine Dana White taking questions from those WWE fans. I'm trying to visualize this. He's got to be sitting there going, "What the fuck is this? What am I doing here? Are these people for real?" I want to see Dana White answering questions at one of those WWE press conferences. That's what I want to see. Now that I've spoken it, I want to will it into existence somehow. Trill Mexican, do AI Fink, and Luke Gallows can do Fink's voice. Boney, Bill Simmons probably also wanted Yokozuna for the first Saudi show. ABK with the second one of the night, his second $205 super chat. It's not very often I have people dropping two hundy bombs on me in one stream. But ABK is one of a kind. Congrats on hitting the 75,000 subs. We are having a party, yes. I don't have my party hat with me, but we are having a party. ABK, man, thank you very much. Rizzo, we need a private investigator to see if ABK is Professor John Gotti. I think Professor Gotti is still around. I hope he's doing okay. We just haven't heard from him in a long time. Juliet Elizabeth, been watching since your WrestleMania 35 review. Just wanted to show my support. Juliet, thank you. Thank you very much. WrestleMania 35, the last one that I went to live. In person. That was MetLife Stadium. That was the Kofi Mania story. Justin Hesse, I wish I could give more. Thank you for all you do. Hey, brother, you do what you can do. As long as you're tuning in, that's all that matters. Jazz in the chat says Dana White would beat up Meltzer during a Q&A. Oh, man. Rizzo, that's why you are doing this solo, and I'm just on my couch watching you. I didn't even think about SmackDown on Thursdays. Hey, Thursdays was the original night for SmackDown back in '99. There's a reason why it worked so well back then. I think Thursday would be a fine night for SmackDown. And Boney with the $5. Did football burn WWE's ratings badly during the Attitude Era, or is this an issue from the last decade? It's been going on for more than a decade. Monday Night Football has always been a pain in the ass for wrestling. During the Attitude Era, though, it was not an issue at all. And in fact, at one point, there was talk that they wanted, not that they were going to move Monday Night Football, I don't think, but that they wanted WWE and WCW to move to Tuesdays. I mean, because during that period of time in the late 90s, I mean, wrestling on cable was combining for 10 or 11 million viewers at its peak. So it was actually taking a little bit of a bite out of Monday Night Football. That's how huge it was. Outside of that period, though, you get into like the mid-2000s onward. Yeah, Monday Night Football's always been a thorn in wrestling side. You know, and football's huge in this country. Football, they say baseball is America's pastime, but it kind of feels to me like football really is. And I'm more of a baseball guy than a football guy, but football, it's like a religion in this country. College football in some states, forget about it. It is a religion. It's a reason why a lot of those games, you'll get 100,000 plus people in the stands. Like, they're obsessed with it. Samoan fan. Why wasn't Jason Jordan with Kurt's family at WrestleMania 35? Well, apparently there's a falling out in the family. Not all the family members got along with Kurt Angle's long-lost son, so having some family issues. Jason Jordan, though, still working as a producer behind the scenes, and apparently he's very well regarded. He does a very good job. It's just too bad his career got cut short the way it did. Now, before we get into Be the Booker, and again, the goal tonight was 400 likes. We are now approaching 450. So thank you for that. You guys killed it on the goal. I gotta refill this drink real quick here. But before we get into Be the Booker, there was no SmackDown stream on Friday last week. And the reason there was no SmackDown stream on Friday last week is because there was a House of Glory show over at the NYC Arena. We had some business to tend to. We had some big matches on that show. Vikingo was back. Matt Cardona defended his title. But there was something else that happened on that show. Things got a little out of control last Friday. And it ended with a major announcement for our next show. But things definitely got out of hand. And so before we get to Be the Booker here, let me just take you back and show you, for those of you interested, the events that went down last Friday at House of Glory Fallout.
This is your commissioner speaking. I have a few announcements to make right now. First issue I'd like to address is Charles Mason. Now, many of you are aware of what's been going on around here at House of Glory with Charles Mason. I don't need to get into the details. We all saw what happened at the last show. I can tell you that in my 30 years as a fan of professional wrestling, never in my life have I been in a situation where I felt my safety, my security, my life threatened in the way that it was. So right now I'd like to announce that both Charles Mason and La Sombra are both indefinitely suspended while there is an internal investigation that is ongoing.
Hey, what is
Hey, here's Charles Mason.
What the hell is this?
The hell is this? What is this?
Who is he looking for?
Our Crown Jewel champion.
Little suspension. I'm the goddamn Crown Jewel champion, Charles Mason.
Not scheduled.
No one tells me what to do.
Well,
That's absolutely right. Not scheduled to be on the show tonight.
Where is he? Carlos, come out here right now. Come out here right now.
This man is under indefinite suspension.
He's looking for La Sombra.
Oh, La Sombra is also suspended. There's an investigation ongoing. We've addressed this
Carlos
already.
not here. You're gonna attack me from behind, but can't meet me face to face, huh?
Mason's rightly incensed.
Well, he caused this all himself,
No.
Doc. What are you talking about?
Now that I think about it, he didn't do it alone, did he?
Oh. I think he's looking
He's
at
looking
you.
over at you.
What is this?
You helped him, didn't you, Solomon?
You're not supposed to be here.
You helped him, didn't you?
You're not.
Whoa.
Hey.
He's coming over here.
What's going on here?
Attacking our ring crew here.
Yeah, we gotta get
this
some
is
people out here. We
ridiculous.
gotta get some referees out here. Is what we need. Oh my God.
This is ridiculous.
Okay, now you know what?
I'm just gonna
No, this is not.
step over here.
This is not what we're here for.
Oh,
my God!
Jesus Christ.
Charles Mason.
This is not supposed to
I have
happen.
never seen Charles Mason like this, ever.
This is not.
Oh, my God!
Oh, that's nasty.
Holy...
Oh, he's coming for you, Solomonster. That's ridiculous.
Calm down.
That's ridiculous.
Calm down. Don't do it. You don't do something you're going to regret. You cannot lay a finger on me.
You caused this, Solomonster. You're gonna reap. Oh! Oh my goodness!
What is wrong with you?
JD!
What is wrong with you? Enough of this!
Charles Mason just took a shot at JD.
You can't go around doing shit like this and thinking you can get away with it. You want to fight somebody, right? You're real angry. You want to fight somebody? I got somebody that you can fight. Hey, I got somebody that you can fight.
October 13th! Well, we got a fight on our hands. And JD is down. Wow. Well, this is quite a turn of events. I guess it's just me now.
Absolutely ridiculous what happened on Friday. That is the sort of thing that should just never happen. And we do have Minoru Suzuki coming in. I was very happy to be able to announce that. It's very cool for me personally to be the one to make that announcement and to be able to call a Suzuki match coming up next month on Friday the 13th, which is one of my favorite horror movie franchises, by the way. So I'm very much looking forward to that. But yes, that is the sort of thing that just should not ever happen. And JD is okay. But absolutely disgusting. Disgusting and unprofessional, and not the sort of thing that, frankly, I'm going to tolerate going forward. Let's be the booker.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to be the booker.
Let's shift gears here and talk about booking some matches here, which is something I know a little something about here as the commissioner. I know a little something about booking matches. So let's go ahead and kick things off here with the men's Be the Booker. We begin here with the tribal chief who has decided to show up for work on a Monday. When does that happen? Very rare that Roman Reigns shows up for work, but he showed up here for Be the Booker. Roman Reigns is going to be in action here. We don't get to see him very often in Be the Booker. This should be very interesting. Roman Reigns will defend his championship against Bobby Lashley. You know, in this entire run that Roman has had, Bobby Lashley, it's about time, steps up to the plate. That'd be a pretty big match. Some matches we haven't gotten, that would be one of them. I like it. If WWE isn't going to give it to you, then damn it, I will. Bobby Lashley and Roman Reigns. And now over on the ladies' side here, we begin with Chelsea Green, one half of the Women's Tag Team Champions. And Chelsea Green, one-on-one with Mighty Molly. I like Mighty Molly. Mighty Molly is a very nice lady. You never hear a bad word said about Molly. Molly has coached other people. Molly is very talented. And I think she would give Chelsea Green probably one of the best matches of her career. So I go with a bell on that one. Now we're 2 for 2. Solid match. I agree. I think that would be a solid match. What am I doing in that super chat? Those are the phone call days. All right, here we go. Tag team Be the Booker. We begin with Kenny Omega and Kota Ibushi, the Golden Lovers. Kota Ibushi is going to be wrestling Konosuke Takeshita at Wrestle Dream in a few weeks. They're going to try to break Kenny's spirit by beating up his best friend. Omega and Ibushi. Their first time here in Be the Booker as a tag team. And it will be the Golden Lovers taking on... Well, this is a little awkward. Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page. Wow, what a match. Kenny Omega and Kota Ibushi against Kenny Omega and Hangman Page. I think Jim Cornette's head would fucking explode if he had to watch a match with two Kenny Omegas in it. It's bad enough he has to sit through one. Can you imagine Jim Cornette reviewing a Kenny Omega match where you have two of them? I think I would actually pay good money to see that. I would pay good money to listen to that. Well, there you go. Look, you never know what may happen here and be the booker. But you got to admit, that would be a hell of a fucking match. Man. Only in the video games, though. Unfortunately, you can't do that in anything other than the video games. Hog needs better security. Oh, you don't need to tell me. I'm working on it. I'm working on it. All right, we got some more super chats here. Mr. Notorious Chico. Jade should bypass NXT with her working with Charlotte, Becky, etc. will make her better. Would make her better. Warrior was limited in the ring and became a... I'm not sure what you were saying at the end of that super chat. But his logic is that she should be fast-tracked to the main roster so that she can work with the top stars in the company. I mean, I get the logic behind it, but I definitely think she needs time first in NXT. Maybe it's not a year. Maybe it's less. But I think it would be a huge mistake for her to not at least spend some time in NXT. And happy birthday to Maze the Great. Apparently it is his birthday. So happy birthday, Maze. Samoan fan says, what did you think of Friday the 13th parts 5 and part 8? I hated part 5. I hate part 5. I think it's the worst of the bunch. And part 8 I enjoyed. Jason Takes Manhattan. There's some pretty good kills in that one, including the boxer one on the roof. Right? There was also an acid one, or had a little acid bath in one of the barrels. So I enjoyed 8. I hated 5. Marquand says, Roman, wise man, why is Solomonster making me work on Monday? That's right. Get back to work, you lazy ass. Get your ass back to work. Maze the Great, as of an hour ago, I am a 26-year-old man. Well, everybody wish Maze a very happy birthday. I'm very happy to have you as part of our little community here. And that you will spend part of your birthday here with me. The Winston Slip says, Jason in Space was ridiculously fun. Yeah, you know, people shit on that one. If you just take it for what it actually is fun. And I've said before, it actually has, I think, the best kill in the entire series. It's actually from Jason X, Jason in Space. So that one is definitely not the worst. It's definitely not the worst of all the ones they've done. You know what? The other one that I really didn't like? Part 9. Jason Goes to Hell. The one where it's not even really Jason, it's his heart. They're like, people take a bite out of his heart and they become Jason. Like, get the fuck out of here. Hated that. Hated that. Yes. Yes, the liquid nitrogen kill. Best one in the entire series. I know a lot of people will point out the sleeping bag kill. That's up there too. But the liquid nitrogen kill, in my opinion, is the best one. I love how we're all talking about Friday the 13th now, since that's the next Hog show, Friday the 13th. It is appropriate that we have Murder Grandpa coming to Hog on Friday the 13th. We did that on purpose. Well, look, as I opened with, I want to thank all of you for helping get the channel to 75,000 subscribers. It is a very cool milestone. Again, we're still a ways off from that silver play button. Unfortunately, that's a ways off, but 75K is very cool. It doesn't happen without you. And hopefully we can continue to grow that to 76 and 77 and then 80 and then onward. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed this review. I think we got into a good discussion on a bunch of different topics here during tonight's stream. And I'm going to be back with you for a pretty big stream on Wednesday, because Wednesday is AEW Dynamite Grand Slam. Not far from where I am now, in fact, at Arthur Ashe Stadium here in New York City. We have Samoa Joe is going to be challenging for the AEW World Championship against MJF. I will have a clip. Actually, my predictions are already part of Sound Off episode 826. Went up yesterday. You can listen to my full rundown right now. But there will be a segment going up here on the channel tomorrow, running down all my predictions and my pitch for why I think Samoa Joe should beat MJF and win the AEW World title. So that will be hitting the YouTube channel tomorrow. But Wednesday night, we're going to review the whole thing from start to finish as soon as it goes off the air. So I hope you'll come on back for that. And then, of course, we have SmackDown later on in the week, back on Friday, as we are every week that I'm not doing Hog. We are always on the channel on Friday night. Juan Ocampo says, congrats on 75K. Just finished Mortal Kombat 1 story, and it was mid. Says, Solo Khan was legit in fear for his life against Charles Mason, more than Tony Khan was against CM Punk. Hey, it's like I said in the video. In my 30-plus years as a fan of professional wrestling, never in my life have I felt my safety, my security, my life threatened in the way that it was from Charles Mason. Dorian Moore, Sub-Zero, does the Jason X kill in Mortal Kombat 1 now. Does he? Ripping off Friday the 13th. Okay. Not a bad thing to rip off. They rip off the best kill in that series. That's the one to pick. So anyway, on that note, be well. Stay safe. Grand Slam. Wednesday night, come on back. We'll do it all over again. And thank you for the 75K. I'll see you guys Wednesday.